Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. My name is Jesse.
I'm Josh.
Sit on the Champloo!
So thank you for tuning in. If you're still with us, please be with us. Today we're going to be talking about games. You may be asking, we're talking about movies. Why are we going into games? Stupid question, because Hollywood just can't get enough of a fix. Marvel Comics, DC's coming around, hopefully, but Marvel Comics, comic book movies in general, have been falling flatter than rogue plastic surgery. And that's unfortunate because Hollywood's also really well known for plastic surgery. And unfortunately, Star Wars and Star Trek has been in a little bit of a hiatus, even with their streaming shows. Of course, they have films coming out, but you know, who's to say that the quality is going to be all that great? We can only hope. We're going to be talking about video games today, yes. And some of the films that have really resonated with fans, you know, through time. It's relatively recent if we're thinking about 80s to today, with these movies being, or these games being adapted into film. Some have been misses, some have been great
Lots
hits.
of misses.
Jessie and I are, as you can see, avid video gamers, or gamers, whatever. But it's no surprise when you look at it that Hollywood and the streaming companies are hell-bent on acquiring some of these IP. And I mean, rationally putting it, the gaming industry clearly eclipses both streaming and Hollywood productions.
At this point, yes.
By a landslide.
Yeah.
So the next best thing is to just tap into that source of gold.
No, I agree. Especially with Marvel and DC kind of going through their limbo stages at this moment. It was at the height for the last 10 years. They dominated every single theater for the last 10 years, especially Marvel. Marvel had done a fantastic job building up their IP, building up their storylines, and pushing it out into theaters where sometimes you'd have 2 or 3 films dominating these theaters over everything else. And DC was going through their attempt to do it as well, but obviously things fell flat and they just broke apart. Let's not get this, mistaken. Video game movies have been here for forever. It's been since the 1980s, late 1980s. And their trends have come and gone in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. I think it eclipsed probably in the early 2010s because of how big Marvel movies and DC movies were. Yeah. But after Endgame, I think, and with the gutting of the DCU under Snyder, people started realizing with some successes of some video game franchises, you know what? There's a lot of young people in video games that want to see adaptations, flourish now and become part of the streaming world too. So you're going to see a lot of new adaptations probably for the next 10, 15 years where they just flood the zone. They just flood the zone in Apple, Amazon, Netflix. There's lots of new IPs that are getting funding. And even now, but in the next 10 years, you're going to see that happen tremendously.
So yeah, unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, media loves to, like Jesse said, flood the zone with whatever works. They really want to reap those benefits. They want to reap the rewards of an established fandom. So part of this conversation that we want to have is how much of that fandom is going to be respected. We all know what the worth of these video games are, not just in a monetary standpoint, but what they mean for us in terms of how we engage with these stories, what we take from them, how they uplift us, how they at times divide us. Looking at Last of Us, I think we're going to bring up Last of Us.
We'll talk about Last of Us too.
How they divide us as a fandom, how they speak to us at a moral level, at a call to action, and overall just an escape. An element of escapism, if you will. That being said, what is entertainment? What is Hollywood and the streaming industry going to do for that fandom payoff? Are they going to adhere to the established lore? Are they going to tweak a little bit of it to make these films pop? Are they going to have their own creative team and their own writers put their own individual stamp, what I consider to be a little bit of an ego game, or are they just gonna, you know, do great marketing, but at the end of the day, it's a film they want to make, not in testament to what the fans want. So that's the overall conversation for this. So what I want to start us off with, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
former glories and missteps, and I want to start the conversation on Halo,
Okay.
the Paramount series, or what I call Hell No. This was a show. You know, just to kind of preface Halo, it is a video game that essentially takes place in the 26th century. Mankind has stretched out into the far reaches of the galaxy, and we, as a species, encounter the Covenant, and soon to be the Flood, a parasitic kind of zombie alien species, ancient. So my impression of the series when I first learned that Steven Spielberg was attached to it as a producer,
Mm,
and that Bungie was no longer involved because they sold their rights to
right.
Microsoft 343 Studios. It is what it is. I came into the show through marketing again, with the impression that they were going to give us a kind of adapted origin story, both integrating the novels as well as the video games. I was, I mean, to put it in the kindest way possible, disheartened
Mm,
when I learned that the studio, the writers that be, took some elements of the novels loosely, but made that damning comment of they never actually played the games.
that's frustrating. See, that's the thing, man. Most of these IPs obviously are famous because of the games. Halo is such a huge staple for online multiplayer. It
Yeah.
literally pushed the trajectory of what online multiplayer could be. The stories are also great, but I think everyone knows the late night sessions with your friends, hanging out, doing multiplayer, deathmatch, Dominion, all these great
Pizza parties in middle school.
pizza parties. Oh my
Play
God,
till
Halo
3 in the
2
morning while
and
mom's
Halo
not
3
around.
online. It was amazing time to be a kid at that stage in
Yeah,
video
yeah.
gaming. And so when the studios have an opportunity to make an adaptation of these projects, like I said, most adaptations for video games, they don't go very well. A lot of them are very goofy, but there is this new era of serious filmmaking and storytelling. So when people like Paramount or are going to take on these huge IPs, Microsoft, whatever, when they take on these huge IPs, there isn't now a new type of expectation that, hey, if we're going to adapt something, it needs to be raw. We're going to have money behind it, and we're going to show you something that you haven't seen yet. Show you some amazing sci-fi, amazing aliens. And from what I've seen and from what I've heard, like most people are just not happy with this adaptation at all.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a trend. This is a trend for all these games. But I digress. Please go right in.
No, so I mean, it's a great point. It's a great starting conversation because uh, Paramount Plus as a streaming service. I don't recall if they already had Yellowstone out, but I
Yes.
remember Paramount hitched its marketing wagon onto Halo. They thought this was going to be their Stranger Things. They thought this was going to be their competition for, at the time, you know, Disney Plus's Mandalorian. They thought that this incredible game that held nostalgia, had science fiction, had elements of, you know, ancient alien discovery with Star Wars, with military, kind of like a Starship Troopers feel,
Yeah.
with comedy, with real drama, with AI, you know, displaying emotion through Cortana. They thought they had struck gold. So you know, hindsight is 2020. That's great and all. The conversation that I wish, maybe now they are, maybe now they're showing a little more reverence. You know, better late now than never. But you lose some of that fandom capital. You lose some of that good grace. One would think that the conversations around establishing these shows not as content. And this is why I'll beat this dead horse down till it stops kicking.
Right.
I wish these studios would stop viewing their shows as content. I wish they would look at it from the perspective of fans,
The gamers.
as the
This game,
gamers.
in this
They
case.
need to they need to be just as heavily involved if they want to make their billions. They need to consider these shows, these projects as passion projects, not content. So just to give you a little bit of a initial fan reaction and an overall sentiment, post mortem, fans were absolutely unhappy. For the most part, they appreciated the element of creating new characters.
Right.
I believe the one of the new characters was Quan Ha. Forgive me if I'm mispronouncing the name, but I understood the need to, well, let's bring in modern audience again, but bring in a new generation of fans into a series while trying to tap into the nostalgia that was Halo, right? The adventurism, the escapism of Halo. I can understand that. I, of course, I have siblings of my own. I would want them to be just as invested. Actually, the first two games that I got my little sisters onto when they were both 5 and 6, respectively, it was Kingdom Hearts
Yeah.
and Halo.
All right.
They and it was a shooter. It was gory. For an alien game, it was gory. But it was the one game that my folks let them play, and they would do multiplayer with their friends.
Oh, that's awesome.
And
Yeah.
I was the team leader or whatever. I would set up the matches for them, and I'd watch because that's that family time that we all wish for, right? That's what I would want with my kids, from Halo 2 onward. So it's not as though the appeal isn't there, but there is certainly a disconnect in how these shows are written.
Yeah.
And it comes down to, have you played the damn thing? Do you know what you're doing, or do you want to take your spin at it?
Yeah.
And fans don't need that.
I think I like the fact that you mentioned your sisters and that you guys were able to play this all together, because Halo, I think, is, as much as it really trajected like a lot of the online multiplayer and multiplayer just a split screen as well with family members, it really was one of the most tame as well. Like Counter-Strike was extremely bloody. All these other games are extremely bloody, like Mortal Kombat, right? But Halo itself was, for the most part, like a PG-13 type game. Even though it is rated M, it's still a game that's very tame in multiplayer and fighting. So it could invite a whole bunch of people. The problem is when you decide to make a television show, obviously it does reflect on the story. The story is the most important part. And you need to touch every one of these cornerstones of what made these projects so successful. You have to talk about Cortana. You have to bring up Master Chief and really encompass it around these two, or just about their missions.
Yeah.
And if you're just trying to, we need to invite new audiences, and no, make what made it good. The audience will come. The audience will naturally come because they'll see their friends, they'll see their family members go, have you seen this amazing sci-fi show that's based on the games? And it has every element from those games. They'll be like, no, I haven't. Maybe we could watch it together. And that's how you bring in the audiences naturally. You don't, decide to, let's recreate it, reframe it, redesign it, and then specifically so we can get target demographics. That's not how it works. It's the story, what made it successful, and be passionate about it too. We talked about this on many other podcasts, but yeah.
Now, and you know what? The funny thing is, I'm not so sure. Like I said, I'm hoping and praying, and I feel this way at least. Entertainment industry, with regard to Hollywood and streaming, they are only now starting to understand. It's taken them a while, unfortunately. They're only now starting to understand that fans can't be fooled. Marketing will only get you so far. We can tell what the quality of the show is going to be on episode 1. So how you distribute your episodes, it's their own personal decision, or how you make your movies, that's the studio's decision. But fans will quite literally walk out of the theater. They will unsubscribe, as I did,
From watching Halo?
from watching Halo, and I got I'm not kidding. I got Paramount Plus only for Halo.
Halo.
I'm sure they have other great movies. So does Netflix, right? Netflix came out with Arcane.
Yeah.
Many more subscribers from that. My sisters had never played any of the characters from Arcane.
Right.
What was League of Legends?
League of Legends. Yeah.
They'd never played League of Legends. They loved Arcane. I haven't played. I haven't seen Arcane. I haven't played League of Legends, so there's that disconnect. But that doesn't mean that the show isn't great. It's just that I was never involved in it. But I'm happy for my family. I'm happy for fans out there of the series because they got their passion project delivered the way they wanted it. Yeah, you can have some deviations from the story. That's fine. But you have to adhere to the creativity of what came before. You have to adhere to who was involved. Did they
Right.
have involvement? This is so as an example of Halo, you as a fan know that the writers did not understand Halo. They had Chief take off
His helmet.
that beautiful
Yeah.
fucking green dome of his and show his face.
I mean, it's
In
kind of like
every episode, he had to show his face, and that to me was sacrilege.
no. It's the same if, for instance, like the Doom character took
Yeah.
off his helmet.
Yeah.
We don't need to see your face. We need you in the Doom outfit. In Halo, same thing. But I want to go back to Arcane because I do think this is a perfect example we just talked about, which is the audience comes naturally to. Arcane was one of these shows that naturally brought in people into loving new types of video game adaptations again. It was one of those top 3 shows, I think, alongside Last of Us and also Fallout as well. But Arcane as an animated series was perfect.
Yeah.
I myself was I remember when League of Legends came out, I played a bit, but I was not all that interested in the game itself. But when the show came out, that invited a whole bunch of new audiences to even know what League of Legends was, so that maybe they too would want to play the game as well. So that is just one top way of doing your characters right, because then I have my friends who still play League of Legends start telling me, so this character is from this moment in the game.
Yeah.
This is from this moment in the game. So Arcane is just a perfect example of how to do it correctly. I know they only have 2 seasons right now. I think they're done after the 2nd season, unfortunately, but it's one of a great examples.
I set up this episode just from the perspective of what did it take to launch these projects onto the big screen or small screen, whatever, without looking into the profitability of the video games themselves. But there is some conversation when it comes to how did Halo, the series, impact Halo Infinite, which was that open world approach to
Right.
Master Chief,
Oh, yeah.
right? I'll tell you, from a personal standpoint, when I saw the dodgy product that was Halo on Paramount, I didn't bother with Halo Infinite. Because to me, that meant this new studio that kept on with Master Chief's legacy post Halo 3, which to me was a perfect close. It kind of left it open-ended. He's floating somewhere out there in space with Cortana. To bring him back to fight the Forerunners. Okay, let's continue this journey. I thought we resolved the issue of the Covenant, but now we're just, like I said earlier, we're beating the dead horse. And now you're showing us this project, this reimagining of Halo, of what Halo can be for a modern audience. It kind of speaks to me in a way that 343 Industries, stated, this is not canon. This show is not canon to the overall Halo, I'll call it cinematic experience. More like a dud.
Okay.
But they considered this show to be part of the Silver timeline, meaning this has nothing to do with the canonical, true, the real storyline. So to me as a fan, that shows that 343 didn't even have faith in the project. That they have to announce that and go, no, this is a separate thing from what we're already developing. We want to just test this out. Maybe they won't say that in public. I would imagine it's not the greatest or wisest thing to say. But to believe that and to announce that this is part of a silver timeline as a kind of buffer from what the fans are expecting from the games versus what they are being delivered as a show, as a project, that tells me this shouldn't have been invested in to begin with. And I'm mentioning this because just as a numbers game,
Well, I'll be honest with you.
Go
I
ahead.
think it should have been invested in. The problem is, was the execution good? And the
Yeah.
answer to that is
That's
obviously to
hindsight.
most audience, honest audience, they said no.
yeah.
Can the game be redone again in another adaptation? I do think it can.
Yeah.
It's
Well, they
it's
are making
about
another
who-
Halo.
They
We'll,
are.
we'll see
well,
how they're
oh, yeah,
they're using the
there you go.
Epic engine. I
So
think.
you can adapt again. It depends who makes it, who writes it, and what is their aim for the show to bring in characters that people love and bring the storylines and to bring the aliens too, because you need the aliens, the Spartans, all these great clashes between both, and you have to really show it and get people excited. So maybe they can do it again, but yeah.
Well, like I said, hindsight is 2020. Was this all preventable? Sure. If the studios had viewed the project, if they had vetted the writers, to ask them a simple question: we're hiring you and we're paying you this money to do this project. Have you played the game? That is question number one. If you can feel that their response is, "Oh, I played a little bit of it." Next. Next. I read some of the books. Okay, elaborate.
No, I agree.
Okay. Did you but how invested were you? What did Halo mean to you? And this is the conversation Hollywood this is no secret to them, especially when it comes to comic book movies, as you know.
Oh yeah.
They don't like comic books. They don't like the feel of the fandom. They just want the fandom's money. You can't have it both ways. You want your project, you want your movie, you want your $1 billion. Here we are. We are telling you what we are willing to pay. You don't have to show us a play-by-play of what's already been played. But you need to capture that lightning in a bottle cinematically.
I'll be honest. They're gonna have to. I feel like at this point they're gonna have to do kind of a 1-for-1, because I mean there's some
Kind
games.
of.
There's some games where you kind of the story is too expansive. There's too many side quests. There's too many things going on in the world. You have to kind of zone it in. Like some anime shows even as well, like One Piece,
Yeah.
where there's so many storylines. There's so many different side stories.
Like you can't do
And
all the side quests, but you
but-
can damn
but the
well
fact-
try.
But the fact that there is
You know?
like such an openness,
Yeah.
and that you can narrow it onto one thing, you can use that. Like with Halo, I feel you have to kind of do a 1-for-1.
Yeah.
Because it's a direct,
Yeah.
it's a direct story. So, but other games, there are other opportunities for you to narrow in on these side quests and side pieces.
Yeah, so to go from there, it's, as you can tell, I'm at least a passionate fan of Halo. I haven't gone back for a while though. I want to jump into Tomb Raider.
Sure.
Tomb Raider, at least from my point of view, at this point, belongs in a museum.
Really?
I think so. And museum,
That's
I mean hiatus. Tomb Raider did really well. There's kind of a joke when it comes to video game films, as many fans know. Video game films have been cursed. Video game adaptations to films have been cursed.
That's the talk of it. Yeah.
And that kind of started with Super Mario Brothers back in the 80s with John Leguizamo. And Bob Hoskins, I think is his
Yeah.
name, played Mario.
Such a cheesy film.
Cheesy film, great film for
loved it, though.
kids.
I love it.
But,
Yeah.
critical acclaim, no. True to the lore, no. And it actually kind of freaked out the creator of Mario and Nintendo in general. That's why they stayed away
Because of how surreal it
from
looked.
video game
Yeah.
adaptations, because they they were traumatized by that experience. But anyway, to Tomb Raider, looking at 2001's film, which was a hit, right? It was $115 million budget, world box office of $274 million. So for really at that time, 2001, that is a lot of money. That we haven't
What are the
obviously
numbers
we
again?
haven't hit. 2001 $115 million budget, worldwide box office $274 million. there was a big wave of enthusiasm for these films. It kind of teetered off. It crashed into a heavy stream, or into steady stream. There is now talks of a reboot.
Yes.
With Phoebe Waller-Bridge at the pen. Think of her what you will as a writer. She did well with the show Fleabag on Amazon. I heard it was really funny. I haven't seen it. I've seen her involvement in Star Wars. I was not a fan, and in Indiana Jones, even less of a fan. But we all have our one-offs. This isn't to say that people are not talented, or that they are. And I'm genuinely not trying to put it out there that they are out to put out some sort of agenda or propagandists. But you want people overall, and I hope that, God forbid, I hope that more people understand that these writers should also have a chance to grow. This isn't to say that where they are mentally now it will be there forever, that they are stagnant. I hope that they look at these projects that they tank on, right, and that they personally grow from those and become passionate about their projects. I hope that is the case for Phoebe Waller-Bridge. I hope I'm saying her name right.
Yeah.
I hope that she's passionate about this role, that it's not just about how can we make Laura Croft a modern woman. I want Laura Croft the action hero, the adventurer, the scholar, the Tomb Raider,
The historian.
the historian. Yeah, I want all of that, not just the modern woman for the modern time, for the modern audience. You really need to capture the feel of the 90s games. I'm not talking about the sex appeal, because I understand that that was a clear element to those games. Like, any way you look at it, however you want to look at it, that was certainly an element of those original games. She was one of the first female protagonists, aside from Metroid Prime, from Samus. But a lot of that was included to the character. So if you are gonna flesh out Laura's role as an action adventure heroine, you really need to sell us on your story.
Yeah.
I hope that can be done. That's why, for me, I say it belongs in a museum to be studied, not to be preserved. Not
Okay,
to just
because when you
stick
say
around.
it belongs in a museum, that sounds
Yeah.
like it needs to.
No, I get it.
out of here.
And I do that intentionally, right? Because if at the end of the day you do that study and you realize, I can't write this project the way that it would really hit to the fans, not just women but men, right? It has to hit the whole audience.
Right.
If you can't do that, it needs to stay there until someone else can.
Well, here's the thing. Again, I haven't seen Fleabag, so I don't know exactly her skills.
heard it's
in
pretty
that.
funny.
It is great because it's got a lot of acclaim for some people. Obviously, when it comes to Tomb Raider, I am a fan, so I want this to really explore a lot of the maybe different zones of where Tomb Raider explores, like a lot of the historical backgrounds of the artifacts she does. Also, yes, the crazy action, but I do want a serious Lara Croft. I do. I want someone to take it seriously. And
Square Enix did a great job at that too.
yeah,
They're making those.
the new games that have come out have been great. The very first one was fun, especially in this like Japanese, temple
Oh,
backgrounds. There was some darker elements to that too, some spiritual stuff, and into the historical explorations of the tombs. Right. I want when Phoebe takes on this role to pen it, to write and explore. And the issue is, I feel the one thing that is going to stop us, unfortunately, is the person she casted as the Tomb Raider. Sophie Turner, she was great
God,
in Game of Thrones. I'm not gonna take away her ability to act in the Game of Thrones series, but when I look at her, I do not see the Tomb Raider. I do not see Laura. I don't. I am waiting until I see the trailer to, like, I will get the feel right off the bat off that trailer if I see her as the Tomb Raider. She goes and explores the tombs, but she is very intelligent. She understands her history. She learned from her father. She grew up rich. She grew up around libraries. So
Aristocrat.
Huh?
Aristocrat.
She's an aristocrat.
Essentially.
She's very intelligent. So I need to see a smart Laura, because I need to see her solve the puzzles. I need to see her solve where is the historical areas where to explore. And so I can't have a witty, banterish,
I can't.
Laura being a smart ass every time someone. I need to see her show how smart she is.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm not gonna write her off just yet. I
Sophie
love
Turner?
I love Game of Thrones season 8. Yeah, let's not. I she did really well in Game of Thrones. I'm not gonna write her off just yet. And I hear your comments; they're valid. It's so funny. I was thinking about this a few days ago. You know who else they said that about? Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton, when he was
Michael Keaton's
casted,
a different person than Sophie Turner.
no. The concept. Michael Keaton, when he was casted as Batman, was was just as heavily dismissed
Oh, so was Heath Ledger.
as as Batman Bruce Wayne. And now look at him.
I agree.
He is the titular role of Bruce Wayne Batman.
That's why I said I'll wait for the trailer.
Yeah. So yeah, I totally get the criticism. I would also say I'll wait for the trailer, but I don't want to deviate too much. These studios, it's such a shame. I love marketing. I love marketing as a form of storytelling. It's my passion. I know it's yours too.
Oh yeah.
Marketing trailers are not enough. They are I'll use psyop. They are definitely psyops on the fans because these studios know what the fans want to see. So they'll put that as the jangling keys in a trailer. But once you start watching the show, you're just flat out disappointed.
Oh, I know.
Recently, and I'm not going to deviate too much, as a perfect example of this, I don't know if you saw it yet. Marvel Zombies.
Oh, I haven't
Marvel
seen it
Zombies. I'll save you the headache.
Yet, no. Okay.
Cut.
I've heard
Just
people say it's boring
cut.
right off the bat.
It's bad. The trailer was like, wow, we're
I saw
actually
that.
going to get some gruesome.
Heads getting cut
the
off.
music,
Yeah.
the music is going all over the place. I don't know what to make of it. We're getting a George R. Romero.
Romero. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel
Yes,
like
George
I'm
Romero.
George
Yeah.
Romero. Okay, I get Lord of the Game of Thrones writer. All these
George R. R. Martin.
R
Yeah.
something. George Romero.
They're all RRs.
Take
Tolkien.
Evil Dead, zombie apocalypse. We know what the stories are, but the studios know it too. They know what they want from our reaction, and they're selling us that in a trailer, but they're not delivering in the product. So I'm not going to just wait for the trailer for Lara Croft. I'm going to wait for episode 1. And if episode 1 doesn't hit, so yeah.
Oh yeah, I will get that immediate
So-
feel. Like for me, the trailer. Obviously, there's movies that have been shown out. I think it was like Batman vs Superman. You had movies like Suicide Squad, the first one in 2016. That when we saw the trailers, dude, we were hyped. It was like,
Yeah.
what? I know in the second, Comic-Con trailer for Batman vs Superman, when they got exposed to Doomsday, that was when people got a little pissed. But overall, there is a new hype of people also showing in trailers scenes that are actually not going to be the end part of the
End
movie
product, yeah.
or the show. It gets cut out
bait and
entirely,
switch.
but it's a bait and switch.
Yeah.
So it's going to be the same. I hope it's not the same for Tomb Raider, but I will just get a feel for how she acts as Lara Croft through that trailer. You can't hide that. I'm sorry, you just can't. If I see you acting or saying weird or weird gestures, I mean, I can tell. If you're going to do like quick little jokes, I mean, that's going to show some personality. So at the end of the day, you are right. I'm going to have to wait till that first episode, but I will get that feel right from the trailer. I will try to understand, how she portrays her.
Yeah, and look, I know in my, at least in my commentary, I feel like maybe you're more. I'll definitely give my great friend here some credit, and credit is deserved. He is far more lenient. Maybe I'm wrong. But
Forgive.
he's more forgiving than when it comes to the studios and their decisions than I am. This is not to say that I don't want to champion the studios. I want these studios to thrive. I want them to have a new renaissance of these films. I don't want these stories to just be reserved for Hollywood. I want streaming to just pop off and be forever. Because at the end of the day, this is about escapism. This is about bringing families together, or telling the kiddies it's time for bed. Mom and dad are going to watch a show from Jesus, however old they were when they were playing the games, or they first read the books, or they first fell in love with the films, and it's time for some personal time, right? I want the studios to thrive, but they kind of have to meet us halfway. So at least for our part, we are going to put their feet to the fire and say, look, this is actually the route you have to take. You do have to respect the fandom. You do have to meet us halfway, maybe even a little more now, because you've kind of trampled on those hopes. Now, I titled this portion at least, missteps and former glories, but I kind of want to go into another film that, or series rather, from games that kind of deviates in that sense, and that has to do with Resident Evil.
Yes.
Resident Evil, uh, sad to say, maybe a pathetic admission, that was one of my first horror films.
The film
Yeah,
itself.
the film,
Oh.
the original films. I was there obviously when the original Capcom game came out for PlayStation One. As a kid, I'd watch my cousins back when they used to do demo CDs.
Right.
My cousins would play the first level with Chris Redfield running around the mansion, and I I couldn't handle it. I was like
Yeah.
4 years old. It freaked the shit out of me. But it was my first. It was my first intro into horror film, horror loosely based, and these films were phenomenal. They kind of teetered on canon, what is the true lore versus what we came to expect from the games. But there was still some reverence to that lore, to the horror that is, Raccoon City falling under, the T virus being unleashed.
Right.
So there was, what I'm trying to say is, the fandom was respected in that their time was not wasted. They were able to live in the world that is Resident
Yeah.
Evil. So I kind of titled this, at least for this part, Resident Evil: The Neighbors Are Coming to Dinner. Jesse, go ahead and start with what your thoughts are.
Well, I don't know if you know this, but Resident Evil is actually my favorite video game series.
Okay, no shit.
So I'm a huge Resident
awesome.
Evil fan. I've played every single one.
I've never played those.
Every one. All of them. Veronica, all of them.
Maybe I'm like stupid for it. But...
All of them. I love all the Resident Evils. I'm excited for the new one coming out as well. The thing that Resident Evil did for me as a kid watching these films was it invited me to some real horror, some goofy horror too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Comedy horror.
I know what they wanted to do for this film was to deviate from the games, because the games you can't do a one for one. The same thing with all these other stuff, Halo, whatever. You can't do a one for one. Again, I think that's wrong. I think especially with this new adaptation coming out, directed by Zach Kreger, who is one of the Wise Kids cast. He also says he wants to deviate from the main story. But I think in the older films, what they did expertly well was they showed the cameos of the characters like Jill, like Carlos, like even Chris, to make their cameos in the films with each subsequent film that came out. While focusing on Alice. As the main character. She was
Mila
the device.
Jovovich.
She was the catalyst for all of these films.
It kind of
She
helps.
was a great new character.
It kind of helps when your husband is the director.
That too.
And he's writing and directing like
That
4
too.
of the 6.
Well, that too, but also I
But
think
they're
she was great
passionate
because
about
she
it,
was
so-
from The Fifth Element. She was
yeah.
that person that was like a bat out of hell. She had no idea what was going around her.
Yeah.
And Alice was that too. She lost her memory.
I think Mila Jovovich was my first childhood crush
she
too,
was
after
a
that film.
crush for sure. I
Yeah.
had a huge crush on her.
what
But
it's
with the
worth.
Resident Evil movies, I think they did it expertly well because they still paid homage to those characters like Jill in the second movie, Carlos in the third, and Chris in the fifth movie, stuff like that, but focus on Alice as a whole. They were able to show the monsters and show the T-Virus, show Wesker, show all these elements that honored what the lore and what the characters come from without giving it a one for one shot. They did it well. Was it goofy at times? Were there like 3D elements invited to the movies too?
Yeah.
I remember that
Yeah,
Resident
yeah.
Evil 3D.
Yeah.
I enjoyed all of it. It was enjoyable.
It was campy, but in a good way.
Yeah,
Because
and-
the gore kept you on your seat.
But it respected the material, it respected the people, it respected the lore. What I see for this new adaptation that's going to be coming out soon, held by Zach Krieger, he says he's going to deviate entirely from the characters. At this point, we've seen those adaptations of the old films. We've seen a Netflix show that was absolutely terrible. It was actually disgusting what happened with that.
They kind of blame that on COVID too.
They did,
Yeah.
but
The
also
COVID's,
they tried to
impact.
do another film that actually had Chris and Claire and Wesker,
Yeah.
where they showed a mixing of the first game and the second game
Yeah.
in the mansion to the city, and that didn't work well either because you rushed everything within an hour and a half.
Yeah.
You have to let these elements play out. When it comes to Resident Evil, I want to see the characters. I want to see Jill. I want to see Chris. I want to Resident Evil 4. I want to see Leon. I want to see Leon in all his glory shooting the hell out of these monsters.
Yeah.
I want to see the respect to these characters. So I think it's okay to do one for one, specifically with this series, because people want to see the mansion. They want to see the elements. They want to see the T-virus. So I will wait. Again, I am forgiving.
Yeah.
I will see what
Resident
Zach does.
Evil, I'm a little more lenient because at least I know the history of it in terms of how it was put out onto the big screen. They were far more respectful to what came before. They were far more considerate. Yeah, they deviate. They had some duds later on, but we can't ignore the success of those initial films, and the fact that even for a Western audience, you know, like I said, these films span like 6 films, and then we have a remake coming up, or a remake, whatever. Even throughout all that time, from the early 2000s to now, they were widely successful. And even when they started to dip in popularity and in proceeds and profit in the West, Asia still kept it afloat.
Oh yeah,
Japanese and
Japan.
Chinese
Japan
still
did.
kept it afloat.
That's where it comes from.
So that speaks to the fact that the audience is still there. It's just waiting to be tapped into. Kind of more to what you're saying about the new director. I've actually heard a little differently. I know he wants to deviate. He wants to go away
wants to
from
do
Chris
fresh.
and Jill Valentine. It is fresh, but and this is from what I've heard, what I've read. The story is canon to the games. The story from the games that you've played from the 90s is canon, but the characters that you're going to be, you know, experiencing the world of the T-virus
They're doing it
through
around-
Raccoon City
around them.
is around them. They're not involved with Chris or Jill or Leon Kennedy. There is, it's not, obviously they're not going to show all their cards at once. There is the question of, is Leon going to be a cameo?
Oh
Is
yeah.
Jill going to be a part? Is it like, are there going to be, are you going to see Resident Evil 3 kind of playing in the background, right?
Oh, with Carlos?
running around, but you're not focused here. You're over here.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting take. It's an interesting way to kind of involve the player, right? The player is technically a part of the story because you played Resident Evil 1. You know where you are. But your character is over there. The story is taking place over here. So now you're kind of involved, you're invested. That great payoff of, oh shit, I've been playing this game since I was 4 or 5.
Right.
Now I can experience the same world that I took part in,
Yeah.
but through the eyes of someone else.
That's fine. Like I said, I need to see those elements, though.
Yeah.
I need to
Yeah.
see the monster. I need to see the Colossus monster. I need to see Mr. X. I need to
Nemesis.
Nemesis. Yeah. I need to see these things, and so I'm just hoping that I think because people are starting to get a little bit disappointed with the new adaptations and them straying away, that there is
Creative differences.
the creative
as they call
differences
it. Oh, God.
or
creative
trying
license. I hate that. Oh,
I just, it's okay. It's okay to bring back the characters that we love and actually show them doing what they've been doing already.
Yeah,
It's okay
yeah.
with that. You guys are already remaking the games.
Yeah.
You're already
You know what you're in
doing
for.
this, so just it's okay.
So,
Do
so,
the
so
one
to
for
kind
one.
of
I don't care.
talk about budget and proceeds, global box office. So just to do again quick numbers, we want to be accurate about this as best as possible. The first Resident Evil film, 2002, budget of 33 million, proceeds from the global box office 103 million. For that time, not bad, right? It's still profitable. They hit it off with Apocalypse 2004, $45 million budget, 129 million. So we're starting to see growth now. Extinction 2007, $45 million budget, $149 million profit. Or not profit, global box office. I want to be careful. Afterlife 2010. We're now going into the fourth film. At this time, you start to see some fan
Disappointment.
fatigue,
Yeah,
right?
I'll be honest with you.
Afterlife 2010, 60 million, $60 million budget, $300 million box office. Again, this is where you start to see, ironically, the Western audience starts to dip. Asian audience is saying, no, 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 we're still invested in this. Let's keep this going. So naturally, you're going to have 2012's Retribution at $65 million budget, $240 million
I'll be honest with
box
you.
office.
I don't think any of this matters, and I'll be honest why.
Okay.
Because I understand right now everyone is so focused on the budgets and all this stuff too, but it's also about the cultural phenomenons.
Sure.
Like people went to go see these Resident Evil films because of what they were, which is Resident Evil. People went to go see Halo the show because it was Halo.
Yeah.
And I understand too with this new trend of people being so into how much does this cost? What's the biggest budget? Ba 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 ba. But at the end of the day, some of these great films that we know today, like Breakfast Club and Back to the Future Part 2, and all these other films that did not do well in the box office, but transcend that to we're watching it 20, 30 years down the road, that to me is what matters the most. To studios, it doesn't, but to us, the viewers, it does.
Yeah, yeah.
And so when I hear, well, this did well, this, but well, the reason why is because they tried to beat the dead horse of Resident Evil
Yeah.
as with Alice until it was just no more viable, and they gave it a final film to send it off. Like, okay, we're done.
Yeah.
So it was the stories after 3. When you got into 4, 5, 6, 7, it just kept getting progressively more cheesy and worse and terrible. And you could also say the same thing, I guess, for Fast and the Furious too. Right after
Yeah.
5,
I got off
film
after
got
5.
progressively worse and cheesier, but the memes kept it alive.
all
So
about
it was
family.
because it was such a cultural phenomenon to the viewers and the people that love Fast and Furious, like family. The quote
Yeah.
family was so big, but Resident Evil didn't have that with the latter films. So
Dead family.
it just died down. It just died down. It was fun to go watch it, see how cheesy it was, but it did die down. So I understand this new trend of let's keep the box office and try to understand it because that's what the studios care about, to give it a second film or third film. But as a storyteller, keep the main ingredients alive within the stories. Your sequels will come because the audience will be there. So
Yeah. The point I'm trying to make though,
Yeah.
when I'm reading all these numbers off, I'm not saying that the studios were justified in how they wrote the stories. What I want to make sure that our viewers understand, at least, is from the perspective of the studio. These are bean counters. A lot of them, most of them, they are looking at budget profit or budget loss. I'm not saying that these films were financially successful because the creators, the writers were great in telling their stories. I'm just saying that these budgets, in relation to what they made at the box office, this would entice the studio to say, make another one, make another one, make another one. And you're right. I'm not arguing that you're wrong. I'm saying you're right when you say that there is an intangible value to the IP of Resident Evil. There is the decades long nostalgia, the playthroughs from the games that will keep the audience coming back, especially for the Asian countries, for Japanese, that they will keep coming back because this is their own, right, from their own IP. What I'm saying though is, looking at these budgets and looking at how the studio responds by making a new film, they are, unfortunately, the creative integrity, the strength of the brand, the IP is eventually going to die down.
That's if they keep beating the dead horse. But the first
Exactly.
initial
Exactly.
stuff, for instance, this new Zach Kruger film, that's going to be up to him. Once
Yeah.
if he does well in this film, and the people come to flock it because it's actually done well, aside from the Netflix show and the reboot attempt with the film, where they tried to put the first and second game together.
Yeah.
If his film, the new one, does so well and people watch it, then naturally the studios will be like, okay, people like it, let's give them a second one.
Yeah.
Now, if they keep doing that for the third and fourth and fifth, the same thing's going to happen again. But it is up to Zach in that first film, in his story, to make it so. So when I see the budgets, it's like, okay, cool. Yeah, I get it. I understand the trends for studios, but this is about the viewers. What
Yeah.
are the viewers going to come
Yeah.
to? So
To that argument, I want to add to that. It's absolutely to the audience. The audience votes with their wallet, as you always should. Don't take this nonsense that you must be a certain way and therefore you don't show up to a certain show or a game, whatever. You can send that shit out the window. Ignore all that. Vote with your wallet at all times when you can. To that point, I'm including these budgets or these readings for budgets because, as you mentioned, the audience was there because it's Resident Evil and they have an expectation. I'm not including fan reception, how they perceive the film on purpose. I'm not including that conversation to this because with that last film for Resident Evil, the final chapter, that budget was $40 million. That global box office was the highest, was $312 million. Why? It's the final film. Evidence would show that the writing was starting to get bad.
Yeah.
I mean, like, progressively bad. After at least the third film, it was starting to get progressively bad, but the audience kept showing up because it is Resident Evil and it has that intangible value. That is the nostalgia factor, but it doesn't make sense if the writing is progressively getting worse and the audience is still showing up and still paying for the films. Not to disregard, maybe ticket sales are also increasing. I'm sorry, ticket prices are also increasing,
yeah.
and therefore maybe there's some element of that too. But could it also be that, I'm going to use this, the dead horse, there is some catharsis in delivering that final blow to the dead horse that was Resident Evil Aftermath, that it peaked at 312 million. Everybody showed up to just finally be done.
No, that's true.
With
Yeah.
Resident Evil. Like, okay, we have been doing this for over a decade. Let's watch this last film
It'll
to
be
see how it all culminates into this final thing, this end game. And we're done. And that's why you have that Welcome to Raccoon City, that Netflix show.
Welcome to Raccoon City,
and
that's
it
right.
just goes.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what it is. I mean, when those
So that's why I say it's a misstep.
When those middle films, we're not doing too well. That final film that was coming out, it was like, hey, you know what? We're gonna finally end these guys. We've been doing this for about 10 years, 12 years, and you know what? You guys, you the fans have, been coming and watching it maybe on DVD at that time or on pay-per-view when pay-per-view was big too, and not going to the actual theaters. But you know what? Just to like end this franchise, send it off before even Mila Jovovich is just done with it.
Yeah.
Let's just give her a final film. Let's end this all together. Everyone comes back, and we'll just end it. You know what? And give it some room to grow again, maybe another time. So that's why. But you know what? We've spent so much money on this. Make this last. This small budget of $40 million. Make it last. And you know what? When people heard this was the final film, of course they're going to go see it because they're going to do the rewatches of all the 6 films, of all the ones before they go see the last one. So when they hit a bigger budget, box office, prior to the other ones, it's because they knew this was it. This is over. We're done. We as fans have seen everything. We're glad it's coming to an end. And you know what? It gives us closure. It gives us closure as fans.
We do want to say though, thank you, Mila, for doing those films.
Yeah, Mila,
they
great
were
job.
They were great for me anyway. I was
I loved it.
like 9, 10.
As
I don't
cheesy
even
it
remember.
was.
Cheesy as it was, campy as it was like an upgraded level of a horror video game. So yeah, at least for our part, we enjoyed them for what we could, what they were worth.
The thing too about a lot of these horror games and horror films too, I think they really should try and explore that.
Yeah.
Because there are so many new games, especially in horrors, that are coming out.
I'd love to see a Dead Space.
Dead Space is something that would be interesting as well. I mean, people are since I think the 1970s or 80s going back to movies to see a flock of new horror films, including like the franchise like X and Pearl and Triple X.
Yeah, yeah.
The Substance that came out that almost won an Oscar for Demi Moore. Evil Dead is doing a revival as well. The Evil Dead resurgence was great. I love that film. But they're also tapping into Silent Hill again. Resident Evil's coming back. Friday Nights of Freddy. So Friday Nights of Freddy, you can say what you want. But which one?
Five Nights at Freddy. My sisters played that one. I didn't.
Five Nights at Freddy. It's okay. It's like a quick little game, kind of like the man that goes around. You're in the forest and he tries to find you. Slenderman. Yeah. Right. But no, there is this.
Didn't they make that too? Like this is the thing. I'm very sure they did a Slenderman game or a movie, and that's why it just feels. It feels like these studios. They see something that looks cool. It's shiny. It's a quick project. Low budget. They say low budget. We'll just deliver something. It either hits or it doesn't.
Yeah.
And
that's part of it.
Okay,
too.
That's part of the game. That's fine. I can see why sometimes, fans can say video game movies are cursed because maybe they're not given the reverence or the budget that they deserve to really pull it off. But then the studios aren't really all that interested in doing these kind of films. They'd rather stick to, I don't know. Anyway, go ahead.
No. I reason why I bring up these horror movies and horror is because I think there is a market to all these young kids and young people that want to watch the horror movies. And I know they're going to do a game movie called Mortuary Assistant, which was a short game that was really loved by a lot of players, and they're going to make it into a horror movie. They did it with Until Dawn as well. And I think there is a trend where it is costly, less costly, like the Resident Evil game movies.
Yeah.
And that's something that you can bring mass audiences to for a quick scare on a Friday night. For instance, I think probably the best games that they could probably try and adapt are games like Amnesia, Outlast, and the Fear series. Yeah. The Fear series is beloved, and you would flock a whole bunch of new audiences to come and watch those films. It would be less costly too. So that's something that if you care that much about studios care that much about budget and all that, go try and adapt those games because you will have a flock of viewers and audience members that want to see
another horror one. Didn't they just release Until Dawn?
Until Dawn.
Netflix? Was it Netflix? It was a streaming series, wasn't it?
It was actually in theaters.
It was in theaters.
And then they eventually put it on
that's another
streamer.
one I never played.
But no, it's capable of. These are examples of games where, again, like the Resident Evil movies, you can adapt the lore and the style, but you don't have to have a one-for-one also. So there's a lot of untapped potential in these horror games that people can use the lore and create something fresh, create a new story around the characters and the monsters, and then bring it to theaters. That's something I think that would be smart for a lot of studios to put together.
Yeah, let's rip the Band-Aid. This is again, we're not deviating. This is actually exactly where we want to go. So let's rip this fucking thing. What happened to The Witcher? What happened? You had a banger of a cast with Henry Cavill as Geralt. You had the fan. You had someone who'd read the books, played the games, practically as a religion. You had the opportunity to have an additional creative head in the lead role to tell you, look, these are the motivations of these characters. I should know I played them. I should know I read the books. Why don't we stick to what is true to the lore from the author's perspective?
Yeah.
How I'm gonna use that phrase, and I'm coining it from another YouTuber. I'm forgetting his name. I apologize.
Don't worry
In
about
your infinite wisdom, how do you disrespect that man to the point you ridicule his expertise, you ridicule your writers and your creators, your directors, you ridicule the lore, you ridicule the content that you're trying to make, and you expect the fandom to show up for it and not be aggressively vocal about it.
Right.
So now he's, and I'm kind of like rushing through it, and we'll break it down a little more. He's out. Henry Cavill now wants to go into Warhammer
Another video
40,000,
game adaptation,
another
yeah.
video game adaptation with Amazon. We'll see how that goes. You have to recast the main actor who had a enormous following from the Snyderverse Superman series. Great actor. Overall, very well spoken, great actor, intelligent, one would assume, gentleman, respectful, respectable. But you even go so far as to slander his character, his own personal character, because you can't get over yourselves in your own ego by trying to propagandize through something that is not your own.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get into
Yeah.
Witcher. I'll get off my soapbox and stop bitching. Go ahead.
No, I agree with this because again, The Witcher. This is actually another layer to it as well because The Witcher doesn't come from the games; it comes from the
Yeah,
books.
exactly.
There's a lot of stories that come from the books that get adapted into video games as well. Witcher is one of them, I believe. Also, Metro also is another one of those games as well.
Metro.
And so when people are deciding, hey, you know what, we're going to adapt a video game like The Witcher, Witcher 3, because of the popularity of that game, into a television series. Well, really, you have to go back to the books. And one of the things that Henry Cavill was so adamant on was, hey, if we are going to be doing the Witcher series, in fact, there was huge campaigns by Henry Cavill to become the Witcher, and the fans helped boost him to become that because we all knew
put in work.
that when he was going to undertake this series, he was going to take Andre's books seriously as well. So that hopefully the team that was going to pen this series was going to take the seriousness of the lore of the Witcher world on screen. And Henry Cavill was very vocal throughout the entire process of, hey, I'm not liking where this is going. I've read the short stories books, which are like the first a couple of books, and you do see that in the episode. So there was some kind of one for ones in some of those cases. But as the series progressed into the main story, you could see, if you've read the books, I could see Henry Cavill definitely saw a delay or a stray away from the actual source material into whatever the people who apparently have not ever read the books, or even, I don't know if they've even played the game.
Yeah.
They've strayed so far into what they personally wanted to adapt from their own personal experiences or whatever onto screen. That is not how you undertake a series that is not your IP. You have to respect the material. You have to respect the IP, and you have to respect the fans. And there was just a straight up rejection of all of that. So I don't know what you go ahead.
No, I love.
And unfortunately
I love
for Liam too, who's going to be recast as the new Witcher.
He has even greater shoes to fill and almost an impossible task to perform. That's such a shitty.
I sympathize.
That's such a shitty experience. Look, kudos to him for having the balls to do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody, I think, with some sensibility would look at that and go, "You want me to do what? You want me to be the following act?" That's in a way that's disrespectful. But to his credit, he's like, "No, I'm hoping is just as passionate about the project as Cavill was or is, that he's willing to take on the role, knowing the shoes he has to fill, knowing the climate that he has to overcome, for them to even continue on with a sequel, unless like this is it, this is the one and done, and I'm making the paycheck out of this, and
Yeah.
we're out of here. It's unfortunate, and I wanted to close this missteps portion of the show, because this speaks to this is less for the fans. This is more cathartic for the fans, but this is a warning shot to the studios. This is why this is just a glimpse at why the good graces, the good faith that the fans have toward these upcoming projects that you have. This is why it's shot. This is why the patience is out, is thin, or if not out, because we've already done our investment.
Paid our money.
We've paid our money.
Yeah,
Yeah, we've
and
paid
time.
significant money, time, effort. Called off from work. I was very young, so don't blame me. I don't do that
Oh,
shit
sick.
anymore. Out of office when I'm 25 and whatever. I won't be around for 2 weeks playing this game. But we've put in the time and the money to take part in what Sony Interactive or Nintendo or Microsoft Studios have had to offer. We've followed along with Naughty Dog. We've followed along with Sucker Punch. I'm naming studios. At the end of the day, it's not on us to show up. It's up to the studios to give us a reason to show up, and the trailers aren't going to cut it anymore. Your tool, your propaganda tool, isn't enough. You have to show us fans are behind the scenes. You have to show us fans are in the director's chair. Fans are in the writer's room. Fans are prepping the meals, are designing the merch, are designing the posters, are setting up the PR events, the marketing, the events.
We do 90% of the work.
All of that. We will pay for what is worth it.
Yeah.
If you don't got it, you ain't gonna get it. So to Witcher's outing, I hope it's a good show. I'll admit
I'll be
this.
honest, I'm done.
That's fair.
I've been done,
it's
honestly,
fair.
since the end of the first season.
It's fair.
Yeah.
To that, I saw season 1 before I found out Henry Cavill was going to be out.
Yeah.
The second, and I finished season 1, and that's when I started contemplating. I never played the game.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of OCD when it comes to games. For myself, I can't start in a story that is part 3.
Oh, you want to
Witcher,
play?
yeah,
the
Witcher.
first-
I wanted to
yeah.
play Witcher Witcher 3. I think it was Wild Hunt.
There was Witcher 3 was the Wild Hunt,
Yeah.
then there was 1 and 2.
Yeah,
obviously
but
there's-
1 and 2 at the time, I didn't do much research, I guess. But
they've been remastered.
yeah, they've been remastered now.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't want to get into Wild Hunt, and I did research. I read that you can get into Wild Hunt without knowing the full lore of The Witcher, but to me that felt disingenuous, because I've heard from studios go, you can jump right into a project without having to know the whole lore, kind of like what Kathleen Kennedy did with. You can jump into the Ahsoka series without knowing the story of Clone Wars
Which is
and Star Wars in
nonsense.
general, which is bullshit. I'll
Yeah,
never believe
that's
that.
nonsense.
So I took that for what it was, and I said, I'm not going to play Witcher 3 yet until I watch the series and get a feel for what is the world of The Witcher. I'd heard great things about it, and then you have the story of Henry Cavill is difficult to work with. Henry Cavill is
Oh,
too
yeah.
opinionated.
Too opinionated. I remember those
It's
stories.
cringy. He's sexist. The
He's
way
toxic.
and it's all bullshit, because none of his co-stars, if anything, they came out and defended him
Yeah.
from the writers and the director that were in charge of the show. So that tells me, he's not difficult to work with. He is giving what the studio
Feedback.
heads are used to.
Yeah.
The studio heads are used to providing what? Notes. The actor is intelligent and experienced enough to provide the studio with notes, and you're saying no, we're good, thanks.
I'll give you a perfect example of this. Okay, Sam Witwer.
Yeah,
Sam Witwer.
yeah,
If you're a Star Wars fan,
yeah.
you know who Sam Witwer is. He has voiced.
Better.
He has voiced Darth Maul in the Star Wars series and
Forever.
animated series.
Yeah.
He's also been Star Killer in the video games
Hell
The
yeah.
Force Unleashed. Right. Sam Witwer is a massive Star Wars nerd. You probably see some of his shorts around on YouTube, on TikTok, wherever, but he's
I'd
always
love for him
talking
to
about
run
his
Star
love
Wars.
for Star Wars. One of the things that also shows up, hopefully some people have seen that too, but if you haven't, he also corrects the writers and showrunners.
Hell yeah.
Even Dave Filoni, he's corrected before. Says, "Nah, have you seen it this way? It wouldn't go like this." And then that goes to Dave Filoni and the people who take that and realize, oh, you're right.
Yeah.
And then you know what? We need to change that because the fan, if he knows this and the fans know this, and I don't, that's a problem on me.
Yeah.
When it comes to The Witcher, and it came to Henry Cavill, and we know him to be an avid fan of that series. When he tried to tell that to some of the showrunners who admittedly have not read the books or admitted they don't care for the awful storytelling, misogynistic storytelling of the books,
Leave that big word shit
Then-
out of here.
okay. When you get that feedback, it's up to you to decide, you know what, this person is right or wrong based off of A, B, or C. They decide outright, how dare you give us feedback? And we're going to start spreading around, you are difficult to work with.
Yeah.
Now, to be fair, I don't know if they were, actually having discussions repeatedly over and over again, and Henry Cavill just kept pushing and pushing and pushing. I don't know that. But I still think there's still some semblance of, hey, even though he might be pushy, is he right? Is he
Yeah.
correct? And
He's
are
got a
you
point, you know.
does he have a point? And if you look back on your story, you're like, you know what? Who cares if he's right? That's a problem. That's a problem. Because then if he knows it and I know it and the fans know it, you have a problem. So that's the time to make the correction. And I think it just did not work well, and that's why he's separated from himself at the right time. This is now on them, and this is on Liam now. Unfortunately, I sympathize with this
Let
situation.
the man make his money, but leave him alone.
Obviously this is not his fault. This is not any of the other actors' faults. This is the show's fault between the show and Henry.
Yeah.
So
W on Netflix's move. Not W, L. on
L
Netflix,
L
sorry.
L
I know,
L
my head was up my ass.
L on Netflix.
L on Netflix. And I love Netflix, but major
I actually
L.
don't even say this is on Netflix's fault, because Netflix has championed some other artists
Sure.
who have
Sure, you
done
got a
some
point.
quote unquote controversial stuff in
Sure.
the real world,
Sure, sure.
and they've championed them regardless.
Yeah.
This has to do with the showrunners.
Yeah,
of The
yeah,
Witcher.
that's what I mean. That's
You know, so L showrunners. Okay. Other than that, yeah, I'll be honest. I am done with The Witcher. I'll be honest. I've seen the first season, seen the second and third. Around the third, I was just like, I'm done.
Yeah.
So, I'm good. We'll see how it goes, but I expect, this is my prediction, it's going to be dead on arrival season 4. And there's going to be a massive fall off on viewership just for the fact that Henry is not part of it. I will make that prediction, and it will be canceled.
Yeah.
I'm going to make that prediction.
Moving on to the next one, we're going to get into some brighter horizons, I would hope. So, current success stories. Super Mario Brothers, here we go. What was your first memory of Super Mario as a kid?
Falling and dying, and hearing the
Yeah, I'd say so too. I remember, going home from third, fourth grade and
Yeah.
playing the original Nintendo games, and just being captivated by that stupid little beep, beep, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't take much to capture the imagination of children, and that's kind of where, that's the spirit, that's the purity of storytelling. When it's crafted with color, when it's crafted with joy, with simplicity at its finest, but overall just fun for kids. And you kind of let the lore build on from there. So it's no surprise that, like I mentioned earlier, Illumination took it on as a passion project. This is when the studios get it right. Fortunately for everyone, Shigeru Miyamoto, I butcher his name, I apologize. legendary creator of Super Mario Brothers, was heavily involved in the creation of this film. In terms of the writing, he helped pen some of the story. He oversaw much of the animation, especially in terms of the world building when it came to Donkey Kong, character portrayal. And so ultimately, it remained faithful to the Nintendo brand. This was important because when they did the original Super Mario Brothers from the live action version from the 80s, late 80s,
Yeah.
when they did that, that that go scared the shit out of Nintendo. And it kept them for a long time to stay away from films in general. And Nintendo, as you know, as any gamer would know, is very protective of their brands. They're very
Oh
protective of
yeah.
their characters. So it's not a surprise to say that Mario has been missed from the big screen, but at least we've had a slew of games since then. The Nintendo 64 with the Super Mario Brothers,
Oh
the
man, that was so
racing
much fun.
games, the Super
Yeah.
Smash Brothers. You fling your controller into the TV because your little cousin beats the shit out
You
of
know, you
you.
asked me what was the
With
thing I
with
remembered the most, and it's like it's me dying, but it's also me in my 3 4 year old mindset getting angry and like having
yeah, yeah.
a tea whistle coming out of my ears and just like tossing my controller into
That's
the wall and
that's when
kicking
your
the
mom
wall.
knows you have an
She's
an anger
like,
management problem, but it's not really.
it's not there yet, but
It's
it's
just
like,
the
woo,
AI is kicking your ass from a stupid GameCube.
yeah.
But anyway, it was a great film. It was a simple film. It definitely shows the potential that Nintendo can go from this. I know you and I have kind of talked about this in the past. Well, at least from my perspective, I would love to see the world of Mario to continue to be fleshed out. Right, the Mushroom Kingdom, Donkey Kong was kind of explored. I hope they kind of give him his own little outing.
Yeah.
Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong was a choice.
Sure.
I didn't mind it. Right, I love Donkey Kong. My girlfriend likes to make fun of me that I have a head shaped like Donkey Kong. So there is a passion to it. And look, I'm
W
not
Sabi.
Italian, so she can't say that I look like Mario. I will take any character as long as I don't look like Bowser. I'm fine with it. I love Donkey Kong. I used to watch his show. I think Warner Brothers or somebody used to have his show on TV. It was like an animated series,
Yeah.
short run but fun. Anyway, I
She calls you Doggy.
she
Dog. That's
does for
funny.
real. She tells me I have a onesie. I don't know if I ever showed you the Halloween costume I had when
No,
I worked at Starbucks.
but I can
I,
see it.
I we did a Halloween thing. Everybody shows up in costume, and I had all these little characters, kind of like Velcroed to my Donkey Kong onesie.
Right.
I came home from work, and she said, "I don't see a difference. Why'd you go to work naked?"
That's
So
funny.
anyway, what I kind of got from this film was I love that Jack Black was casted as Bowser. Chris Pratt did well as Mario. I know a lot of people loved him in that role. I was okay with it. I know that the OG actor for Mario, the voice actor, also played a little bit of a role, a minor role, but still he was there. And Charlie Day playing Luigi.
Oh wow.
It was a great film. Me, more of a nostalgic fan. I will be honest. Honesty is the greatest policy. I will be honest. I am not a die-hard Mario fan. I love Nintendo. I love the strength of their brand and the simple joy of childhood that is their brand.
Yeah.
Right? My kids will be playing Mario. That is
We'll be playing
that is
Mario Party, all of it,
religion,
yeah.
right? That is how you start your game, your fandom. But I am more of a casual fan for Mario, but I still truly appreciated the level of detail and honesty and passion that went into that film.
Oh yeah.
And I could see, my own little personal fandom, the road from there, right? The Rainbow Road. I can see them making their sequel, which they've announced now.
Oh, they
I
will.
believe it's 2026 or
2027, I think.
27.
I
But what I like I said, I told you this. I can see them building their own end game style.
2026.
Right?
You're right.
26. Okay, even better. I can see them building up their own version of the Marvel cinematic whatever. But I would love to see the Nintendo Cinematic Universe where you've now had your brief outing with Mario. Maybe the next up is Luigi's Haunted Mansion after the next sequel, right?
Oh,
To give
totally.
Luigi finally his chance to shine, and maybe the introduction of Wario and Waluigi.
It could be an absolute Halloween
Yeah.
release date. It could be a whole event just for the whole October.
But I want Nintendo to walk away from this and say to keep the purity that is animation, that is the colorful world of Nintendo characters. They're building a Legend of Zelda live action.
Yes, they are.
I'm actually, and I know these are two different films, but because they're within the Nintendo umbrella, I want, and I think it's through Sony. They're
Sony's
doing
gonna do it?
Legend of Zelda. I
Oh.
think if you could check that.
Yeah, I want to check that out.
I want them to be careful. I, I'm going to be honest. I don't want live action Legend of Zelda.
Really?
I don't. I want animation, and here's why. I want them to build Legend of Zelda one film. They're going to do their Mario sequel. That's owned. That's warranted. That's fine.
Mhm.
We already have, Detective Pikachu. We don't have to revisit that to do Pokemon. But following that, we do a more serious live action for Metroid Prime.
I would
Metroid.
love a Metroid Prime.
I want them to do, please, like maybe there aren't any more fans. I don't even see the games anymore, and I've looked for them. I want Star Fox back.
I would love a resurgence of. You know what? You're saying all these things. For Metroid and Star Fox, and screw it, bring Spyro back too. I don't care.
Yeah.
There is a trend for these lovable mini arcade type games,
Yes.
and it's just doing so well. Those films are actually the ones I think that are doing the most well because they don't have to be taken as seriously.
Yeah. And
as
live
a
action
dramatic-
takes
Yeah.
away from that. Live action, I don't know what it is about a viewer's mentality that when you watch a film like that, it has to be a little serious to be plausible.
Plausibility.
The
That makes
audience
sense.
can't, like, there is a disconnect when you have an animated series or show. The audience can let their guard down a
Yeah.
little bit, but you put it into live action, the stakes go up.
You know what? That's true. I think that's true. I think even for Pokemon, Detective Pokemon,
Detective Pikachu, yeah.
Pikachu Detective, excuse me. I think there was that kind of feeling of need too. People were trashing on some of the actors as well. I personally like the film.
Yeah.
But I think
Wasn't
with the
bad.
Mario Brothers film, that's something that was received by all audiences as loved and beloved.
The audience from Minions
So
basically showed up.
I do see your thinking here on potentially because animated films you can do whatever you want with it in a Pixar style look,
Yeah.
in a 3D dimensional feel. Maybe with Zelda, that's the route they should go. But obviously, they're not. They're going to do live action, because then you know what? It's also the thing is you don't have to worry about the actors themselves in an animated series or animated film acting the hell out of those roles. You just have to hear their voices portrayed well. And the animation does the work for the acting. Whereas in live action, the actors they have to look like they're legitimately, acting the hell out of their roles, and we have to see the facial expressions done right.
It comes
and-
across more, and not. This is not a knock because there is a fan for this. There is a fandom for this, so this is not a knock. But Legend of Zelda live action runs the risk of feeling like another Dungeons and Dragons.
Dungeons and Dragons, the live action one that
Yeah.
just came out. You didn't like
Yeah.
that one?
Not really.
Wow.
Not
See,
really.
I'm a D&D
It fell
guy
flat
too.
for me.
Most-
Again, I'm not part of that fandom, so I can't.
Oh, all the D&D guys
speak
that I
to
know
that.
they loved that movie. They absolutely loved it.
It just feels like it's rinse and repeat. But we haven't, to my memory, we haven't gotten an animated fantasy show in the style of Illumination, in the style of Super Mario Brothers or Minions. Imagine how the world opens up with the artistry of Breath of the Wild, of the artistry of Tears of the Kingdom, but in the style of Super Mario of
in that
Illumination,
animated.
what they can create. Your world builds up, the colors build up. It's not just
You'd
the
hope.
drama and the the emotion through the voice acting. It is the world around them that you can still enjoy, and you can bring children in. I feel you can bring children in much easier with animation. You bring their parents along, right? You bring their parents along because one, they have to watch out for their kids in the movies, but they can also build on the nostalgia from their children and pass that feeling on to them much easier than it is to put them into a live action film and the kids are going, who's that? Who's that? Who's that? They're more interested in the live action person than of the colors of the animation on film. So that's why, I know this was supposed to be a Super Mario thing, but
No, but we're talking about
it's
this trend.
Nintendo overall. That's why I'm curious how they're going to execute the Legend of Zelda film. A little worried, and I'm mentioning this because I want Star Fox to get that same treatment in terms of animation, and I want Donkey Kong to get his own film, all to lead to the racing game.
Right.
I want them to have their own, like, Infinity War.
You're thinking like 5 movies ahead.
Yeah. I'm thinking because they know that they're going to make money. Look, they made, what was it? They made 1.36 billion dollars worldwide.
Jeez.
Okay?
Yeah.
That is Marvel Endgame level.
Yeah.
Okay? That's what the studios go after. That's what they think they're going to get when they do these video game adaptations. They just can't get out of their own way to admit they need the creative element, the original creative lore, the writers, the creators behind what made these games so successful.
Yeah.
This is why, because the man himself was deeply involved in making this movie. When you respect the audience by respecting the creator, by respecting the fandom, by respecting the story, you make bank. So
Build it and they will come. That's
build
the Field
it.
of Dreams
Thank
movie.
you. Build
Says-
it and they will come. So I want all of this to. I would love to see this all lead up to an Infinity War style, high stakes, Rainbow Road or whatever, like circuit.
And they all
race.
die off the race
And so
course.
many die. No. Check this out. So many die. But what they don't understand is at the end of the race, like the audience is going, "Oh, this is this
is
is
a
an
kid's
extra.
movie.
This is a kids movie. This is a kids movie." They're
all-
all falling off the road, or the stupid little turtle is picking them up from the cloud. But at the end of the game, you either made it at the end of the race, you either crossed the finish line. I'm not saying death because this is a child's movie, right? This is
Yeah, I
a
know.
younger audience movie. They either made it to the end of the race or they didn't. But here's the high stakes. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Those that fell off the bridge or didn't make it, they're petrified into those little like stone figures that they have at the end of Super Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
They're all frozen. They did not make it to the match. The end game film is the animated Super Smash Brothers.
Mm.
The animated end game film is Donkey Kong versus Mario versus Link versus Zelda versus Star Fox.
You're building a whole
versus
universe.
Metroid
Jesus.
Prime Samus versus Roy versus Pikmin versus all of them.
You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah.
All right.
You have it be that each fight, free for all, it matters. You either hit the podium or you don't. And that little hand is the thing manipulating it all at the end of the day. Right? And you can have creative story arcs. You can have redemption. You can have Bowser sacrificing himself for the greater good.
Right.
Right? But it's all in good fun because at the end of the day, the audience is there to see a match.
That would
and to
be a
relive
wild
that
cinematic
nostalgia.
universe to eventually see them all just. You know what? No, let them all die. I want those kids to be horrified. Okay,
Well,
I want them to start
Make
crying
them feel
in the
lost, damn
theaters,
it! Make them feel lost.
Like when we see
It wasn't
all of them
only
crumble.
the '80s kids that saw horrifying like child development breaking experiences. We were not as soft as they think. We saw some wild shit as kids too. We were probably the last generation to have a childhood without social media.
Yeah.
So
True.
let's put the new generation through
some
their
trauma.
paces. Yeah. And so we're gonna go onto a more hopeful scenario, kind of rocky start. Mortal Kombat.
Yes.
A not so flawless victory. I know I have a Mortal Kombat poster. I don't have it up, unfortunately. I didn't get prepared. Mortal Kombat.
I love
Please
Mortal
start,
Kombat.
because I know you love Mortal
I
Kombat.
do love
I'm
Mortal
mixed on that.
I'm a huge Mortal Kombat fan. I love the series. I love the games. I've really loved the last few entries into the game series.
Favorite
And
ninja, favorite character, go.
favorite character? Oh, I'm a Johnny Cage fan, but obviously,
Really? You went with Johnny Cage?
yeah, Johnny's the shit, dude. Like, I'm sorry, he's
All
old
right.
school. He's standard. He's there. It's Johnny.
All right.
I'm also a Kenshi fan. Okay, I'm a huge Kenshi fan
Okay.
as well.
All right.
Obviously, we haven't
Deep
seen
lore.
Kenshi in the movies just yet.
He
But
might be.
yeah, so in 2019, 2000, when was it? 2000. Actually, when was that?
No,
Was that
it
during COVID?
During COVID.
Yeah,
21.
Wow, 21. God,
It was delayed, I know, and it was
forever ago.
impacted because it went to streaming too.
But yeah, we had the Mortal Kombat films out in the 90s, and
Mm-hmm.
obviously, again, those movies at those times were goofy. It wasn't supposed to be taken seriously. But when we got the cast for this Mortal Kombat series, there was something to it where we got some real actors. We got the actor who was in the recent Shogun show. He was going to be playing
Scorpion.
He's going to be playing Scorpion.
Yeah.
We got some great martial artists in this game.
Hiroyuki Sanada. Sanada?
The
Yeah,
actor.
Sanada. Hiroyuki Sanada.
We have some great martial artists in this film as well too. So there is some like, whoa, maybe we're gonna get some serious, darker tone Mortal Kombat that takes itself seriously, and we're gonna see a great action-packed film. I personally, when we got to see it in theaters, I was waiting for the Mortal Kombat moment. And
Yeah.
it never arrived.
Yeah,
There was
the
no
payoff that
tournament.
didn't show.
The whole point of Mortal Kombat was the tournament.
It was a trailer for a movie that you thought you were going to.
It was a prologue. Prologue, excuse me. It was a prologue to what's eventually going to be in the second film coming out. It's supposed to be coming out next month, but they just delayed it to next year in the spring. Or
Yeah.
summer.
I only found out about that like 2 weeks ago. I was so mad. That was my month. Go.
I was so excited because it seemed like we were finally going to get the Mortal Kombat tournament in the film. You know what? And if this film does well, then the first film will be good too, because it's a nice prologue. Maybe it was a disappointment when it come out, but it would be a nice prologue to the second film where we get to know the characters. We got to know the characters, and then now we get an entry point for Johnny Cage, who is one of my favorite characters. And I am not concerned about the martial arts of the film. I'm concerned about how they carry out the funniness, the bizarreness, the actual fights, the lore of the characters, like Scorpion and Sub-Zero, and what they do with Bihan, and I'm just curious to see how it all comes out, but. I think it was a bad move for them to move it to spring, because I was actually excited. You got the hype down for the trailer in May. In May. So you had the hype from that trailer. That trailer was fantastic of an intro for the second film, and I'm actually really annoyed that they delayed that film because they didn't want to compete with other films. You think?
Oh, Mortal Kombat. Mortal fucking Kombat. That was the game. That I have some younger cousins. One of them in particular was like a little brother for me. Shout out. If you watch this at all. That was the one game that I would go over to their house, and we would all, like, we're 8, 9, whatever, and that was our first experience with rage quitting. With like sweeping the leg and the uppercut. The simple side scrolling, like round one, right?
I have a buddy that literally kicked a hole in his wall.
Yeah, I would. We would piss each other off, but I would piss them off. I was a terror for them. I would piss them off so much, and I would play off of the two of them. and they know this. I joke with them all the time, but I would piss them off because I was not good at that game at all. And to their credit, neither were they. So we would just flip around the screen
Yeah.
and trying to do the uppercut and the side leg to the point that you can't even play anymore. And you would do that for hours to the point that they just stand up and in their own sense of self-worth and independence as a fucking 5-year-old go, this is my house, get out. Right? Like our family's enjoying Christmas dinner and they're just like, get out of my house, you don't belong here, and take your bullshit Sub-Zero.
Yeah. I thought I was good for a long time.
Yeah.
And then
I couldn't do combos for shit.
And then
I just go bah, 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 bah,
and then I play one of my friends and he literally wrecks me. He does like 10 move, 15 move combos on me.
You kicked my ass with Noob Saibot.
I did. I did. You know why? Because I learned from him. This guy that absolutely humbled me with this game. And so I saw combos I didn't even know you could do because you have to be smart on your timing.
It's so fluid.
And how the timing of each of those combos flows together. And that takes so much time and practice and effort. So when I see those nods actually in the film, so for the first Mortal Kombat movie, there's a moment when they're training in the square. And I think it is, what's his name? Oh my God. Sharp Hat.
Oh, Kung Lao.
So there is a moment where they're training in the courtyard, and Kung Lao does the double kick on the ground to Kano. He's like, try that again, and he does it again. I'm like, oh my God! Everyone in the theater was like shouting out and laughing because they know that feeling of, oh my God, stop repeating the freaking move. I did like that movie for a lot of bits, but yeah, again, I wanted to see the tournament. I wanted to see some more focus on what they actually wanted to do with the narrative and the story. And I think with the second film, they're going to course correct and get those characters right again. This was just their intro film to the characters for anyone who didn't know. And again, if the second film does well, then you know what? That first film can be the prologue. It can be the intro to something greater.
The intro for the audience.
I'll be fine with that. Yeah.
No, look, I'm glad they made the film. They did a thing, right? Warner Brothers, they did a thing. There were some questionable decisions, or at least the two that I can think of. It was nice to be reintroduced to Outworld. For the audience, if you haven't played Mortal Kombat, Outworld is the other dimension where many of these characters are coming from. There is an eternal battle between good versus evil, from Earthrealm to Outworld, where they conduct the tournament for the control, for the dominance over Earthrealm. There's also Chaos Realm, there's Order Realm. There's all these different realms vying for control over Earthrealm, and overall, the gods have dictated that this tournament must be conducted. I forget how many years, every 100 years or so?
There's a tournament, I think there's 10 tournaments.
Oh, 10 tournaments.
There's 10 tournaments that have to be completed, and whoever has won the most tournaments.
And Earthrealm keeps getting its ass kicked.
Yes.
But overall, there is duplicity in the characters from Shang Tsung, who's a wizard, ruthless wizard, brutal as shit. If you've ever seen the original 90s film Mortal Kombat, the coined phrase is, what was it? Give me your soul.
Give me your soul.
Yeah. Why am I forgetting the man's name? I had his name in my head. He was in the actor who played in The Man in the High Tower. Man in the High Castle, something like that.
Ooh.
Anyway, I'm sorry. I'll look it up later.
Are you talking about the guy that plays the main character, the one that says "Give me your soul"?
Shang Tsung. Yeah.
Shang Tsung. Yeah, he was also in. He played the.
He was in the game too.
He was also
Mortal Kombat 11.
And also,
So watching those films as a kid in the 90s, getting it inspired kids. At least inspired me to get into martial arts, to get into a realm that's not quite fantasy. It's not quite science fiction, and it's not quite, Asian lore and myth. It's a little bit of both.
It's an atmosphere.
And it is an atmosphere. It is a mood. It is vibe. Ed Boon, thank you again for these beloved characters. I've certainly had my joy with them. Admittedly, I haven't played all of them, but I've played some of them. and the lore is rich. It's like I said, it's got a tinge of Asian mythology, dragons, gore, sorcery, science fiction, robotics, everything. But at the end of the day, it is a story of people trying to survive past their egos, past their own self wants and needs, their own ambitions, trying to overcome for the greater good. And there is sacrifice. And, a lot of people credit, ironically, a lot of people credit Game of Thrones for being the series that makes their heart break when they see their favorite character die.
Yeah.
But I actually think Mortal Kombat was the first to do that, where you see your main character that you love. I think it was Johnny Cage. Correct me if I'm wrong. It was Johnny Cage, or if it was Liu Kang that got his neck snapped.
It was Liu Kang and his brother.
Yeah.
His brother was killed.
So that's where you're going, like, wow, these characters are not permanent. There is high stakes to this. So, with Mortal Kombat 1, 90s film, 96, budget of $20 million, worldwide box office 122. It was considered as a strong success for a low budget film. Pretty big hit for a video game franchise, kind of first of its kind of dabbing their toes into a little more gratuitous violence. But as an early video game adaptation, it was fun to do. Let's do another one. And unfortunately, that second one, the Annihilation film, was far more campy.
Oh, it was terrible.
And that's kind of where the studio decides to stick to animation. Warner Brothers, when they take it
think
on
that's smart.
with NetherRealm, they take on the animation piece and they stay there, and that's a little more comforting. Again, it goes to the Mario, the Super Mario conversation of we should stay away from live action and stay with animation, because you can get away with more in animation as opposed to live action.
Yeah.
The stakes are higher with live action as opposed to animation, and there's greater payoff for the fan base.
Well, that's why Warner Brothers. I think I have to give Warner Brothers this too, because their animation studios,
Yeah.
for all their IP, even if their main live action films do terrible, they're able to hold on to the animated styles for all their IP, for Batman, for Superman, for Green Lantern, for Mortal Kombat, for anything that they have that's because they have like two divisions. They have the live action and the animated. Animated has always upheld a lot of the IPs for the failures of the live action, so you can just keep going and going with some of their studio made films. I think they do a fantastic job for their animation division, and just keeping things going, even if the failures of the movies happen.
Yeah. No, I didn't know this. I don't know if you knew this. And maybe this speaks to why the films didn't do, I mean, aside from Mortal Kombat 1, maybe why the films didn't do as well as they should have. I do want to note Mortal Kombat Annihilation, just to be transparent, $30 million budget. Worldwide box office was 51, not a whole lot. And then the Mortal Kombat 2021 reboot was a $55 million budget. Not bad for that time, I guess, for what they claim. $84.5 million worldwide box office. Okay, it's a start. It's a prologue. People haven't had Mortal Kombat in a while for a film, live action film. Really, the people that are going to go are the gamers that are aware of Mortal Kombat. Not so much the normies. They're not really into it. That's fine. What I didn't know, Ed Boon was not involved
At all?
He was not involved. He didn't, at least from what I could tell. Dear reader, if you could prove me wrong, I'd love to see it. But Ed Boon was not really involved in oversight creatively, other than take my characters, do what you will.
Yeah.
So I can, with that lens, I can look at this Mortal Kombat reboot that came out in 21, and obviously the part of that that worldwide box office was as a result of COVID. People could stream it online for free. I think it was same day too,
That's
which
true.
kind of cut into their profit.
That's right, because at that time, COVID was so was
Technically
closing down.
new, yeah.
And so even with Kong,
Yeah.
you know, Kong versus Godzilla,
Yeah.
like everything was day one on Max. So you could watch Mortal Kombat in theaters or watch it on Max, and same with Kong and
Well, what I'm trying to say is, aside from COVID, we'll give credit to where credit is due, and loss to where loss impacted. I would have liked, if this film was not the prologue. What was sorely missing was in the title itself, Mortal Kombat, the tournament. You pitch the film on the tournament is coming.
Mm-hmm.
The fandom showed up for the tournament.
Yes.
Unfortunately, because there was no or little oversight from Mr. Boone, again, all praises to you, man, sir. The studio, I don't know if you know this, the studio at Warner Brothers said the audience, the normies, doesn't really grasp the lore of Mortal Kombat. It's too much. They don't know the world of Mortal Kombat.
Who said that?
The studio.
The studio did?
Let's say the executives, because
Okay.
it's like I'm painting brush, right? Let's create a character, and this is my gripe with that film. Let's create a character that the audience can experience Mortal Kombat
First
through
time.
his eyes.
Yeah.
That's Cole Young, who you find out, spoiler, if you haven't fucking seen that movie, it's not my fault. Cole Young, who is supposed to be the descendant of the main, like we'll say the main character of Mortal Kombat, Scorpion.
Mm-hmm.
He's supposed to be the long lost, great,
Ancestor,
like
or
exponent, descendant of the great Scorpion.
Yeah.
Everybody that's a fan is going into that film thinking we're gonna watch Scorpion versus Sub-Zero. This is gonna be the fight. Why did Bihan, the original Sub-Zero, kill Scorpion's family?
Yeah.
How was Quan Chi involved? Was Shang Tsung involved? How are these characters all involved? How do we lead to the road to Mortal Kombat? Instead, and this is again my big gripe with these studios and their marketing, they marketed the film on Scorpion versus Sub-Zero, but instead you get Cole Young, some new character that nobody knows about, nobody cares about. Of course, he's an MMA fighter because you have to have some understanding of martial arts to be involved in this tournament.
Right.
You have him, and he is white bread. He is the most bland character, and it's not a fault to the actor. The actor did his thing. He was given the script, whatever. But the fandom didn't show up to Mortal Kombat for this studio mandated character because they don't have enough respect for the audience
Right.
to give them credit to say, well, why don't we just let them experience Mortal Kombat,
Yeah.
right? So I'd love to hear your take on how did you enjoy the film? I know you said it was a film.
Yeah, Cole
But-
Young himself was a character that was part of that movie. Sure. I don't think he was bad. I don't think he was good. I don't think he
Yeah.
was anything. I think he was just there.
Yeah.
And I think he was just there to be as a device for the main story for the other characters, and him being a descendant, an anchor point for Scorpion himself. But like he doesn't carry the story forward, and we don't even get to see the tournament. You're right. The one that they're now, I think they realize this now too, because in the second
They
film they're going to
pivot.
make Johnny Cage the anchor point for all of them. And
See,
that's something they should have done from the very first.
that's
get-go.
the thing,
But
though. I don't know that they will because
I do.
Cole Young is in the film.
Well, yeah, but I still think because they realize, I'm sure, I don't.
I mean,
think,
Carl Urban
I
is
don't
awesome,
think
but-
that the studios have not seen the reception. They have not seen YouTubers or whoever talk about Cole Young repeatedly. So I think they realized, you know what, Cole Young was not a favorite character because he's not a character from the main story. Let's bring a favorite character that can be that anchor point. And I think that's when they realize, because they're heavily marketing Johnny Cage right now.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't in the first and he's joining the second. I think they're going to make him the anchor point from now on. So that's what I think. I think Cole Young was not a good character. I don't think he was a bad character. I think he was just their character. Yeah.
Here's the thing that where I disagree. I wouldn't mind so much if Johnny Cage was the main actor or was the main character. The problem though is this: Mortal Kombat, at least from the marketing and from what it's really the most well known for, even though they are not necessarily the main characters because everybody has their own story arc, right? But what really draws fans into these games is the rivalry between Sub-Zero and Scorpion.
True.
It is that long-seated hatred between the two, right? It is a battle of families, it's a battle of clans, it is deception, betrayal, hellbound, and hell respawned.
Yeah.
That's what brought them in. Mortal Kombat 1, I think, largely failed because it deviated into going through Cole Young's stupid upbringing. It gave you glimpses of Sub-Zero, Bihan's character, the original Sub-Zero, as the force hunting down the predestined Cole Young. But they're also doing a disservice to their own lore because the story of Mortal Kombat is not led by Cole Young. It's actually led by Liu Kang.
Right.
Liu Kang by Raiden the immortal god, well, immortal loose term, the Thunder God. By his own admission, Liu Kang is the chosen one. He is meant to take over and lead Earthrealm to ultimate victory
Yeah.
over Outworld.
Yeah.
He is meant to unseat Shao Kahn, the leader of Outworld. It's a lot of lore.
And I thought they would
can't
focus on Liu at some point, but
you can't escape the lore of Mortal Kombat without you can't tell the lore of Mortal Kombat without at least giving credence to its characters. Everybody has his or her own role to play
Yeah.
in the overall tournament, but all of that is eventually supposed to lead up to Liu Kang is the chosen one. Kung Lao is a little bitter about that, a little jealous about that. Scorpion and Sub-Zero have to deal with their own shit in the background, and it is a heated battle. It is a fucking heated battle. You can't do that by going, let's put in this white bread character because the audience is never going to understand it, is never going to understand the Mortal Kombat lore, and then go, oh shit, we made a mistake. We should have just had Johnny Cage. Johnny Cage should have already been in the first
I agree.
film.
I agree.
Now you're going to jump into Johnny Cage's role. The problem is that now he has to compete with Liu Kang
yeah.
for screen time, and Liu
I
Kang, you're already in your second act. Admitted, we're assuming that the studio is going to make 3 films. Assuming, right?
Sure.
Beginning, middle act, ending. You should have had Liu Kang in the beginning act with more of a prominent role.
I agree.
The second act should have been the ramification of Earthrealm winning the Mortal Kombat tournament. Liu Kang facing his role as the chosen one, and then dying
Yeah.
in that second film, and then deal with those ramifications in the third film. That would justify maybe a 6-film series. What do you think? Maybe I'm wrong.
I think you can focus on all these characters. You can. It's just how does the director and writer, focus in on them. That's why I think for the second film, they are going to try and refocus on Johnny Cage, and we are seeing Liu Kang and Sonya and all these folks, try and get part of the story again, trying to invite Johnny to be focused again. I think that you can focus on all these characters. You just have to have someone that's willing to give each one of these characters their time and space to actually shine and fight and have their own side story too. You can have the main overarching story be about the outer world and the tournament, but it's the characters that make the story for what they are. So
Yeah.
I think someone needs to carry on that mantle of, give every one of these characters their time to shine somewhere, somehow.
Unless it's going to be a lot of
Like,
spin-offs. And I
even
don't know that
even with each other.
audience is gonna have patience for it.
No, I think they could because they've watched shows like Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, movies like Guardians of the Galaxy, Suicide Squad,
Sure.
stuff like that. It's just how does someone represent all the characters well? Do they know how they work, how their abilities work, and then what's the best way to do that?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah, I don't know. I'm hopeful that this next film is finally gonna hit the tournament. I hope it's gonna do well. You never asked me who my favorite character was.
who is your favorite character, Sir Josh?
Fucking Sub-Zero? Is the
Sub-Zero.
machine, man.
Well,
Sub-Zero.
you're
I
gonna see
mean,
him
Liu
again?
Kang. Liu
Hold on,
Kang.
Hold on. There you go.
So I we're gonna wrap this up. We've been talking a while, and every game is different. Every gamer is different. I'm gonna stress something. You have, as a gamer, as a fan, you have more power than you know. You are not simply the audience. You, in your games, craft your own experience. You craft your own story, whether it's Minecraft or Ghost, whether it's God of War or Gears of War or Lego Batman. You have more power than you know. You take the time, you spend the money, and you dedicate your day to live in the world that PlayStation gives you, that Nintendo gives you, that Microsoft gives you. So you owe it to yourself when you watch these films. You owe it to yourself to ask, does this meet the standard that I was raised with? These games were just as much a nursery for us, for some of us anyway, as films.
Yeah.
So we should expect Hollywood and Netflix and Amazon. We should expect that same level of reverence. If you don't see it, call it out. You call it out by not paying for it or paying for it. But never let it be said that your opinion is not valued. Never let it be said that your show should not follow the same critique or the same writing style as what you've come to love. If anything, it should be elevated. It should not be simplified. So overall, video game culture will always be there. It's way too massive to be ignored. Let the Hollywood types try to adapt and do their own thing. Don't be fooled by marketing. Trust your experience. Trust in your own knowledge, your fandom when going for these projects. We have Fallout Season 2 coming out. I'm looking forward to that. There is talks of a Gears of War series coming out. Looking forward to that. Overall, do your thing. Play your game. Not all of the movies are going to hit. Not all of them are going to miss. But overall, enjoy a good game when you get a chance. I think that's a good way to close it up. What do you think?
I think so too. I think you said it all. Well, guys, thank you very much for watching the podcast. Yeah, my name is Jesse.
Happily, I'm Josh.